You're listening to the TyePod, hosted by your friendly neighborhood PhD. All right, well, hi everybody. It's another edition of the TyePod, and today there are three of us here. I'm joined by Kelly Berger and Avery Roberts, and they both have a congenital muscular dystrophy. We're going to talk a little bit about both of their experiences with CMD, and then work with advocacy, and kind of back and forth. Just talk about some common experiences I'm sure that we've had. So thanks so much for joining me, both of you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, excited to be here.
Yeah, definitely. Just starting out, I kind of want to just do a little bit of fun type questions. So I was thinking if there is like an anthem type song that you each have right now, like what your current one is, or maybe one that you've had for a while. And let's see, Avery, do you want to start first, maybe?
That's such a fun question. I mean, I'm a huge country music fan,
Yeah.
and so I feel like that speaks to me. Um, I don't know. I feel like people always say that like I lived. Who's that by Kelly at One Republic?
It sounds familiar.
I don't know. Like I feel like sometimes when people, especially in the disability community, say like an anthem song, I feel like that's what people usually say. So that speaks to me. Yeah, I think anything that just kind of resonates with me, kind of speaks my language and my passions and stuff. But yeah, I think country music always really hits home just because always telling a little bit of like a story or like real life lived experiences. So yeah, I don't know. Kelly and I are huge music fans, so it's so hard to like pick one. I feel like you would have a really good one, Kelly.
I mean, I'm gonna go more hype song. That's like my
Yeah.
automatic like go-to. I'm gonna say my favorite band is Blink-182, which I never stop talking about. So I'm gonna say The Rock Show. It's like something to turn on, get your mind out of whatever it is, and just take a moment and just that's like my hype song. So that's my go-to. That would be mine. So
boost the volume up a little bit and get that going.
Yeah. You break something. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I definitely I get the storytelling side of the country music scene too. You know, like I like some of that too, and I live in Tennessee now these days. So, you know, I'm kind of in the country music area for sure. Yeah. But those both sound good. You know, I know that everybody kind of has their little songs that are their go-to style or something. So I like to lead off with some music related questions. But I think starting out now, if we could get maybe just like a brief intro, kind of highlighting, what each of you, what your experience has been and like what you're doing now. And then we can kind of go back and forth just after that.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm Kelly. I actually live in Ohio, so just a couple states away from you, Midwest girl. So I was diagnosed pretty early on. Actually wrongfully diagnosed for a while, lived most of my life thinking that I had SMA, actually, until about 6 or 8 years ago, I finally got my exact genetic diagnosis. And so found out I had CMD, and then opened up a whole new world of connections and people into my life, and just decided I wanted to dive into more advocacy work and help supporting those living with neuromuscular diseases, specifically CMD. I actually work for a nonprofit that supports those living with CMD. So that's really a full circle moment for me. So that's been really cool. And then in my spare time, I already mentioned that I love music, so I love going to concerts and that kind of thing. So
yeah. Well, I don't know. We can let you talk, Avery, and then I have a question probably for both of you too. After that.
Sure. So like Kelly said, Kelly and I both live with congenital muscular dystrophy, actually the same subtype, collagen 6. And so we're both power wheelchair users to give some context there. But like she said, we work in community engagement for a rare nonprofit in the neuromuscular space that specifically supports our diagnosis and those who live with CMD called Cure CMD. So we spearhead a lot of the community programming there, and just outreach initiatives and that kind of stuff. But we are also members of the Cure CMD advocacy team, which really so that we can put a face to rare disease on Capitol Hill. I live in New York, so Kelly and I are not so close in terms of proximity, but we pretty much talk every single day. So it feels like she's always right here with me. I'm also aware of many hats. I'm a dancer in NYC since I'm about a half hour north of the city. And so NYC has always kind of been my second home. Foodie, avid traveler, and more. So Kelly and I share a lot of a lot of the same interests here, which makes us such it just makes it such a good friendship. So, yeah, it's a little bit more about me.
Yeah, that relatability factor I think is so good. And it's funny how many of us have or actually not funny, but cool how many of us have found connections like that. I feel like with
Yeah.
social media and like, reaching out because in my experience, I didn't really know anybody with MD
Right.
even within the same state, so once I
Even meeting
started,
Utah for sure.
yeah. And what about your diagnosis, Avery? Was it early? Was it misdiagnosed? Like how was yours on that?
Yeah. So my mom had a normal pregnancy, and then I showed signs of neuromuscular disease at birth. But after around 7 years, well, I was put on the path to like how you usually treat a neuromuscular disease. So
Mhm.
physical therapy, occupational therapy, all the things. Within those 7 years, I went through extensive genetic testing, a muscle biopsy,
Okay.
and just kind of figuring, seeing all the different clinicians, just trying to find those
Yeah.
answers. Because in the rare disease community, we call it a diagnostic odyssey. And
That's about
so,
right.
right. So, just during that time, there's so much uncertainty. Um, Although, getting that quote unquote label is kind of daunting and
Mhm.
scary. Um, you just really want the answers. I mean, how are you
Yeah.
going to treat um, this diagnosis, even but without a diagnosis in the way? And so finally, 7 years later, after that extensive genetic testing, I was diagnosed with collagen 6 CMD.
Mhm.
Um, and got all the nitty-gritty info of genetic mutations and phenotypes and all the things.
Right.
Just because it's literally crazy how deep you can go into it. Because although Kelly and I live with the same subtype, we're both different mutations. And so
Right. I think that's something
it's
that people like they
mhm,
just assume, right? To like
right.
if you have the same diagnosis or even if you're just fall within the MD spectrum, like you have the same
Hmm.
exact things, and it's just not that. I mean, it's
Right.
never going to be identical for anybody
No.
going through it. Yeah. I'm curious too about the whole SMA thing.
Yeah.
Kelly, I know you said yours was diagnosed as that first. Uh,
Yeah. So
what
my
was that
age,
like?
I'm a little older, so just the diagnosis back then it was just sort of a blanket one. They were just like, sure, we'll just call it SMA or whatever, as I presented that way at the time. And once obviously testing got better, and I had a neurologist that actually like cared and wanted to like dig deeper and get those answers for me.
Yeah.
They finally did that and sent it to the NIH. And once they finally like dug deeper into my case, they were like, oh yeah, you had a hidden gene and this means this and all this. Yeah, it like changed my world. So yeah, it really just depends on like getting the right care and the right specialist and advocating for your needs. Because unfortunately, the doctors don't always get it right. They can be wrong too.
True.
And you gotta use your voice and stay strong and advocate for getting their accurate answers that you need. So.
Yeah. What was like the big like major changes that you experienced once the diagnosis was switched to CMD?
Yeah, I mean, but what Avery said too, like it is just a label. Also,
Yeah.
the day of it wasn't like, oh my God, like my entire world changed, but like it felt like that because I've been chasing those answers for so long.
Yeah.
And then I could also like pinpoint better. Okay, CMD means pay attention more to this. Like breathing is important. Like like it was more just understanding my care better for what CMD looks like versus
Yeah.
a different neuromuscular condition. So
And
Okay.
and sorry, Kelly, but just really putting you on the path to the right specialists and really clearly defined precautions. I feel like that's a huge point. And also something I just thought of kind of echoing what Kelly said is just like there are people getting diagnosed so much earlier nowadays. And
Hmm.
so Kelly and I seeing that are like, thank God so that people can have those answers sooner and live maybe a more active and engaged life earlier instead of kind of using up all those earlier years trying to find those answers.
Right.
Um, and so we hope that people get diagnosed earlier and earlier as we move into the future, even um, the way people diagnose hopefully gets a little bit easier so that,
Hmm.
not everyone has to go through a muscle biopsy and everything.
Right.
But yeah, those are just things I thought of.
Yeah, I can speak to that too on the diagnosis thing because I had a blood test done way back, like in the I think early 90s or something, and it came back as I thought Duchenne for the better part of 30 years, and I came to find out that those were not confirmed results. So I was able to get a home saliva kit and confirm it that way. So it's wild to me now the things that they can do that especially for people that hate needles as much as me. To be able to send that in was nice. So yeah, it's great. There's options, I think, to get more rapid diagnosis and start treatments faster if they're available. As far as CMD, what are treatment options? Are there treatment options that are effective, or are those still kind of in the clinical trial phase?
For sure. So yeah, we are one of the, I don't want to say more of the ultra rare.
Mhm.
So currently CMD has no treatment or cure. So we're looking at things like Duchenne and SMA. Like we're hopefully we're behind you soon. We hope to be to have
Right.
those things out there. But yeah, as of currently right now, there is not active treatments or cures at the moment. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of how it was for me too. With Duchenne, there's really nothing that can be done, but it still was like, I don't know, it felt good to know more details, more specifically what it was, whether it meant better treatments or not, but still you're just like, yeah, okay, now we know for sure what the diagnosis is. So that should be good for future things too, hopefully. Yeah, that's really, I definitely relate to a lot of those points that you're going through with that. So to kind of pivot a little bit there, when you're looking for, like, you dig so deeply into, your day-to-day life with it, but also with advocacy, all those things, do you feel the need to like escape or kind of get away from it? And how do you do that? I know music and travel is probably part of it, but are there other like day-to-day things maybe that you kind of use to break things up a little bit just to get away?
I know what's opened a world for me is like when I did find my diagnosis, like
Mhm.
uh immersing myself with the CMD community, like just finding my people and
Yeah,
connecting with them and like just having conversations, whether it's FaceTime, video chat, text, messages, like for me to like be able to have someone that relates to me directly that I can vent to and just
yeah.
let it all out. I mean,
And
that's
not even CMD related, right? Just like any life
yeah,
related
that's true.
things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
any advocate or anybody.
yeah,
Yeah, that to me has been especially over the pandemic too. Like I really
sure.
needed those people to just keep me sane and keep me, knowing that we're all not alone in this journey. So that's been really helpful for me.
Yeah. How about you, Avery?
No, I completely agree with what Kelly had said. Just finally finding your community and your people. It's truly something that you cannot put into words. Um, I feel like for me, especially, um, I found dance when I was age 4. So
Mhm.
I was not even officially diagnosed yet. And so I also, for mine and Kelly's subtype, you gradually lose muscle mobility. And so I had been walking for those years, somewhat walking for those years leading up to my diagnosis. And so I was very prone and at risk to falls. And when I would try and break my fall, or someone would try to catch me. And with that, I fractured my arm twice. And so, especially with, the muscles and the bones being a little bit weaker and fragile. But yeah, I found dance, and it's truly been such an incredible outlet for me, not only being welcomed by the entertainment industry and the community there, but also just such a great escape for me from CMD, while also kind of using my drive and passion for advocacy since you don't see a ton of wheelchair users
Mhm.
dancing or on stage or even just, we could go into authentic representation and Kelly knows I could totally go in a deep dive with that. But
Right.
just in the entertainment world. But yeah, I dance at a majority of the most well-known theaters and NYC and was the first wheelchair user to dance on the great stage of Radio City Music Hall, as well as separately among the first few wheelchair users to feature in a nationally televised live production. And so, unfortunately, I've been the first, which I'm great. I'm incredibly grateful for, but I I don't have to be grateful, and I wish I wasn't the first. But I know I certainly won't be the last. So that's kind of how I find
Yeah.
um how I escape from all the insanity um and feel truly, seen um and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. What has the adaptability been like as far as dance as it's like you've lost maybe some movement or function. Like how have you adjusted to that and maintained, like what as much as you can with dance?
Yeah, so it's definitely been a journey. It's been a learning
Yeah.
experience. But I don't think I would have been able to do it alone without um, the few people leading the way in the industry. Because I probably would have not been welcomed like I have.
Mhm.
Um, but also just my choreographers. I've met incredible, unique people in the industry who have been able to take me under their wing and really help guide me in terms of figuring out that adaptability. and even the difference between adaptability and not in a way.
Mhm.
Like sometimes we toy between like adapting to what I can do and what my chair can do, or just kind of putting me in with everyone else, and kind of where do I fall? Where do I like to
Yeah.
fall? Where does it make sense?
Kind of a
Because I
mix and
think,
match
yeah,
in
I
a
think
way. Yeah.
people assume that it's more of like a let's see what Avery can do and
Mhm.
then like work around that or
Yeah.
let me have my space to really figure out how to adapt to the piece and what my fellow dancers are doing. Um, I think also what I've especially been able to play with once I joined my professional dance company was like really bring the features of my chair into play.
Mhm.
So my chair can recline, it can elevate, the footrest can go up, the back can go down. And so instead of kind of hiding those, let's really elevate them, so to speak, um and highlight them. And so my choreographer has been great in terms of letting me have that space to play with it. She is kind of the one who prompted it in a way.
Mhm.
Um, and kind of how can we work that into the whole piece to really um, highlight it and show what I can specifically bring and what makes me as a dancer unique. Um, because so that we don't completely feel like we have to hide the chair in a way. So it's been really interesting and a fun experience to play and learn with that. And so looking forward to kind of what we can do in the future with it
Yeah.
and hope that I mean I know I can feel it that like representation will be increased in the industry and um I'm just so incredibly grateful to be helping and leading the way with that in terms of authenticity and just opportunities,
Mhm.
they're just there's such a lack. So
I love the creativity there too. I think about I have a permobile that has pretty much all those functions too. And I'm
yeah,
always thinking
same.
like, can I elevate to get in bed? Can I like reposition
Right.
to sleep? Those kind of things, but bringing it into like the elements of art and things like that and using it in different, areas of your life in that way, I think is really, really a cool thing. And I don't think many people um are used to that approach, at least that I have met. So I think that's given me food for thought for sure. Like, what else can I get out of this chair that, hundreds of thousands of dollars almost worth of
Right.
features and
Yeah,
things? Like, how can I maximize that usage to do what I want? Like
for
that's
sure.
really cool that you can use it as a kind of a centerpiece almost in a way or something.
Definitely be getting free
Very
promo
cool.
for the chair, Avery. Got
Yeah,
affiliate link. You're promoting the chair for free.
that's what I was
You
gonna
gotta cash in on
say.
that. Cash in on that, you know?
Sponsorship opportunity
That's what I'm
here.
saying. If you're listening, yes.
Yep,
Absolutely.
this is the plug right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's really cool. Speaking of technology, actually, Kelly, I was going to ask you about So I read about your van, and it sounds like it has like some pretty cool features that maybe I need to actually explore myself. But it said
Kelly
something
loves
you've been to
talking about her
40
van.
states, so I got to hear about that because I
Yeah. So
love traveling.
I'm obsessed with traveling. I love to go and seek adventure and go to all the things. Yeah, so I've been driving for almost over 15-ish years. I don't, it's been a long time. I'm old, but yes, this is my second adopted vehicle. She's a beauty. She's a Honda Odyssey Sport, so
Yeah,
it's a little sporty minivan.
you have a name for
You know, I
her?
not really. I don't know. I just call her her. I just yeah. I need to think on that better. I should probably probably
Yeah,
name her.
I felt guilty the other day. I realized, oh, I haven't named any of my equipment. So yeah,
Oh, yeah, I'm late to that, but it'll come to
yeah,
me in the moment. But yeah, so it definitely was, a long journey with the adaptive vehicle process. Took like about a year and a half for the build. It was a newer model, and all the things that go wrong went wrong, and over the pandemic too, which is not great timing. So yeah, it's been the most amazing source of freedom to be able to drive. I utilize electronic mobility controls, so EMC equipment, so I drive with a joystick as like all my means of movements. And then I have a little computer on the left side of me where I push in all the tech buttons, and yeah, it has an automatic ramp that comes out, and I just pull in, lock in with the Easy Lock system, and just
yeah,
get in and go. And yeah, it's a really beautiful thing. I'm really proud of it and excited that I'm able to drive independently. It's just such a freeing thing to be able to just get in the car and
yeah,
yeah, roll
yeah,
out, jam out the music, and go to get out in the community and do all the things. So it's really, yeah.
yeah. That sounds really, really like independent and freeing to be able to do
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
It takes a
Do
lot to get
you?
there. Yeah, you have to really
Yeah,
want it to
yeah,
like
for
fight for
sure.
it to
Yeah.
yeah.
How about like safety, things like response time, things like that, or reaction maybe when it's crowded traffic? How is that with your controls?
Yeah, no, I went through like rigorous training to get trained on all the
Yeah.
equipment. So I wouldn't really say it's any different. It's just, whatever XYZ abilities that you have. Obviously they analyze it to be safe for driving in public.
Yeah.
No, I have a bunch of extra cameras and mirrors to like make sure I'm seeing everything around me to the
Mhm.
full extent. And yeah, I just drive like any other normal driver. So it's pretty cool. People are tripped out every time I roll up and then they're like, oh my God, the van.
Yeah.
And there's like lights and there's cameras and it's like a whole production. So yeah, it's definitely fun to surprise people in that way, I guess.
Yeah, for
Oh,
sure.
she was driving that? Like, what?
I'd explored like some hand controls way back too originally, and I was just like, I didn't trust or feel like my reaction time would be safe enough to, I had to make a quick move. But it sounds like there's been, more than enough considerations on making sure that there's added components for safety, things like that. So that's pretty awesome. I'm actually gonna have to dig into that and see if it's within reach for sure. What about driving in different states? Like, are some better, some worse? What was your experience like with
Whoa, okay, this is a
accessibility
good one.
all over the place?
I'm gonna call out Avery State right now, New York City. Very hard to drive as any driver.
It's bad. It's just
I would say
bad.
that, and then DC also ish.
Really, you're calling out all
I
my
know I'm calling it
favorites.
out. No, I love your cities. It's just difficult to drive in them and get
Yeah,
around.
Yeah,
yeah.
That I definitely want to clarify that.
just like the width of the streets or the amount of traffic, like what
Just
specifically?
like drivers in general are
Yeah.
just aggressive and
Mm.
not always kind. Where I'm a Midwest gal, so I'm like, please and thank you, and like, no, you go ahead, like you go first, And then it's like go in the city, it's like, come on, Ohio, like honking at me and just not, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. How about good ones?
Ooh, good ones. I mean, everybody has like their good and bad. I would say not to call out the rural South, but
Mhm.
sometimes I would say no. I would say the South is probably better than the city. Sometimes you'll drive a little slow. Sometimes a
Yeah,
little too fast. I
yeah.
don't love driving through Nashville.
Have you been
Are
to New
you close to
Mexico?
Nashville? Oh, okay.
Have
Um,
you driven there before?
oh, New
Anywhere in
Mexico?
Albuquerque? Yeah,
No, no,
Albuquerque
I
area.
haven't.
Or okay, so that if you go to Albuquerque, there's some a little bit dicey
Oh,
drivers too there. So just FYI.
okay,
But
noted.
I'm about 2 hours like south of Nashville, so I try to avoid like the rush hour times for sure. But it's a little bit rough. And then I also had been to Atlanta recently, and it
Yeah,
was kind of
it's
bad.
bad too. Yeah, the eight lanes
Yeah,
and they're
yeah.
like, yeah,
I suppose every state probably has some areas that are good and
yeah,
bad,
good
but
and
I don't
bad
know.
each. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know if there's a perfect area to drive. I like being
yeah,
no one and just, having the road to myself. Somebody
yeah.
get off
That's
the
kind of
road so I
nice.
can enjoy
Yeah,
it now.
wide open space. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. Well, there's some of that in New Mexico too. So if you're ever in that area, try to find there's some nicer, kind of less populated spots you can kind of get out and just cruise. Yeah. So when you go on these trips to the different states, is it for all different reasons? Do you try to like target? I'm going to visit like one or two destination sites for that state. What's your approach on that kind of?
Yeah, usually it's around a concert or festival, to be honest.
Yeah,
That's like
good
my
choice.
vibe. So I usually will soak in one of those when I'm out. A lot of it too is just like sightseeing. I like taking photos and photography, so I love like cityscapes and landscapes and just
Mhm.
random odd things to take pictures of. So I usually will have us venturing off to like random like obscure places like the
Yeah,
largest rocking chair or the
there you
large
go.
whatever. Like I'm that person that's like, well, now we have to see it. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
usually.
What's your next state? Do you have it
Ooh,
planned?
I actually don't have any states I've already been to. I have different
Mm,
things.
yeah.
But I want to get out west again. I would love to do that. So maybe the next couple of years I'll venture
Yeah.
out west again. So I hope so.
Yeah. Avery, have you been on any road trips? Like, have you gone somewhere together yet, or is that in the plans?
Well, CareSafety hosts a biannual scientific and family conference, and
Mhm.
so we try to really spread that out across the country to accommodate as many people as possible, just because we all know accessible air
Yeah.
traveling with a disability, and more specifically as mobility device users, it's not great. We could of
Yeah.
course get into that, but um, we try to drive to as many places as possible.
Mhm.
Um, I flew for the first time in 7 years last January, so January 2024.
Yeah.
Um, and even that, it could have been much worse. But even that was scary, of
Mhm.
course.
Did your chair
Um,
make it without any damage or being dropped, anything?
yeah, knock on wood, it did make it. I mean, some parts were left on the seat of the chair, which was
Always.
really funny. Um, but yeah, it made it, and really tried to do all the things we could do between bubble wrapping what we could, detaching and taking onto the plane what we could to
Yeah.
hopefully reduce the risk of something getting damaged. Kelly gave me this idea, which I loved. I made a sign with all of like a little graphic with a picture of me so that they knew that there was someone behind the chair, that this
Yeah.
was someone's legs, which I loved. I thought that was such a good idea, Kelly. With also just all the dimensions of my chair, and so that there's no guessing of where it should and where it shouldn't go,
Yeah.
especially once it's in the bottom of the plane, and cargo and stuff. And so that was the first time I had flown in 7 years. We flew to LA for another Cure CMD thing. It's crazy just how much our traveling is really centered around work and our CMD community.
Yeah.
So one of our conferences was in Nashville in 2022, and so we got to go see Nashville, which was really fun. Our upcoming one in August is in Philly, so I'm not too far from Philly, so that's also a frequent place that we are. One of my clinicians is out there. But we've gone to Chicago for SciFam, the conference. Another thing that Kelly and I do a lot is Rare Disease Week on Capitol Hill, hosted by the Every Life Foundation and the Rare Disease Legislative Advocates. And so we're frequently down at DC as well on the Hill, and that's one of my favorite places to go for many different reasons. And yeah, so huge traveler over here as well. Just really looking forward to seeing more of the world. And yeah.
Yeah, you become master like wheelchair design experts, I feel like, knowing all the ins and outs, what's safe and what's not, what you need to tie down to make sure it doesn't get broken off. It's just a huge list of all the specs, I feel like.
Yeah,
And
I'm always
Google
like,
Street View.
trust no one. Like,
That's true.
prepare for the
That's true.
worst. Like, you gotta really, sadly, guard your things, guard your wheels, yeah.
Yeah. How about experiences like loading, unloading from the plane? Have they been kind of open to what you need specifically or what help? Or is it like, we're going to force you into this situation, load you on, and you're just going to go with it?
Again, that was my first time.
In
Honestly,
7
that was
years,
my
yeah.
first time flying with
your
my
power chair?
Permobile.
Oh, okay.
Because the last time I had flown was with a foldable travel chair, and so it was not so much at risk. But flying with this high-tech Permobile that obviously could not be folded up was interesting, and just doing a lot of research before of what every single thing we could have possibly done, so that we knew from our end that if, God forbid something had happened, that we had done everything, and I think that's something that's very common in our community. And just really sharing those resources and that knowledge and insight of kind of what went wrong, what didn't go wrong during experiences. Something that's often talked about is like what airlines are better than others. There's stories out there, just horrifying stories from different airlines of just kind of what has happened. And so really kind of going off of that, some planes don't take the dimensions of our chairs. And so you really have to look into that to see if you've got the right plane. And really kind of getting ahead, I feel like, of the airline staff and the airport and stuff of just kind of so that they don't have to make assumptions, and so that you're really upfront about your needs, and especially during security you get pretty vulnerable.
That's for sure, yeah.
So especially Kelly and I as women, we talk about that a lot, just always having to be pat down, and it's just a sensitive topic. And so so just really being upfront about your needs and what's okay and what's not okay. And even the batteries, like what kind of batteries you have, like wet, dry. I had not even heard of that. Like
gel-based or not.
Right. Like I had to dig deep. I was like, I don't even know what batteries I have.
Yeah. You have to know all the science of how exactly it works. Yeah.
Right. And so that like if someone asks you, you got it right on hand. And I think also a huge thing was just delays. Like we had something that people do is like so that you're the first one on the plane and the last one on the plane. But even just waiting for the chair. I remember being on the plane once everyone had left and gone off the plane. I waited for a good, I don't know, 40 minutes. And it hurts. I mean, like when we're out of our chair, it's not easy.
Yeah.
And so
Well,
that was
especially when
tough.
they're so customized to,
Yeah,
your individual comfort and everything. And like you're just
right.
expected to just jump out and be fine in any other seat. And it's not always that way.
Yeah. And I mean,
Yeah.
like the staff was really was nice. I mean, they were pretty accommodating, making sure that I was okay and that I had all the things I needed to be okay during the flight. Um, but there also was just, the usual misconceptions of the disability community and, not knowing if I could communicate or something that I remember specifically as like a flight attendant. She asked um my caregiver who was with me, like what my background was, like what my story was. Did I get into an accident? And this was during the 40 minutes that I was waiting for my chair. And so I'm like,
Whoa.
don't talk to me. Like, just don't.
That's not the time for a
Right.
deep dive into Avery's medical history here.
Right.
That's not
And like
exactly.
I'm happy to share it. That's my way of, educating our
Yeah.
world.
But not everyone is. I mean, that's a potentially pretty violating
Just
situation.
right. And I wouldn't tell, all the private stuff, but
Yeah.
um, if you're curious, I'd prefer you to ask instead of just kind of keep going with our ableist and non-educated
Yeah.
society with
Yeah.
and keep going on with all the assumptions and misconceptions that our world has.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, not the time, not the
No.
time.
And also like to refer to the caregiver instead of
Yeah.
you too. That's obviously a common one I think we've
Yeah.
experienced for sure. Yeah. How about you, Kelly, on the air, like flying and stuff? Have you had experiences with that recently or
Yeah, I flew 2 years ago to Vegas for a music festival, of course.
yeah.
Yeah, I would say echoing kind of what Avery said. Luckily, again, my chair made it. It's a little squeakier and some questionable things now, but she's still working. She's still alive. I'm just thankful for that. I did have an issue with I insisted that my chair not be folded, as it can't be folded, and they couldn't figure out my backrest is a little tall, and they
Mhm.
couldn't figure out how to get it in the bottom of the plane. So I held up the flight for an extra 15 minutes, and people missed their connecting flights. And I
Mm.
got some looks, and people were not happy because they knew that I was the reason. I couldn't help it that I, didn't do. It's not my fault at all, but I just we shouldn't have to feel that way. That
Yeah.
shouldn't happen at all. And
The blame goes on the airline for not having
it
like
was just really,
accommodations. Yeah.
really
I mean,
uncomfortable for me. So, yeah,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know that I would fly again. It's just super uncomfortable and just a
Yeah.
really archaic experience for us. And until that improves,
That's the word.
yeah,
Yeah.
until it improves, I don't think I'll be flying. Thankfully, I have my driving situation. I'm very grateful for that I can,
Mhm.
but it limits me. I can't obviously go to the entire world in my
True.
car, a good portion of it. But yeah, so for now I'm sticking to wheels instead of air. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
I don't blame you there. I think the last time I flew was probably 2012 or something, I want to say, and it was not a good experience. And now I use a ventilator too most of the time. So that's a whole nother thing that I'm not excited about ever trying that until like just like drive on and latch in the plane and go. So yeah. Yeah. That's the
exactly.
plane travel thing is it's not an issue that's going away soon, I don't think.
I know. I wish
Yeah.
we could hurry up and speed that up. I mean, there's legislation out there that's promising and some
Yeah.
prototypes that are also promising. So I just hope that we can streamline that and get that really implemented so that it's the law for them to accommodate us.
Yeah.
That would be such a relief for all of us and honestly save like so much money in damages and people's medical,
Seriously.
things
Yeah.
that happen. So yeah, it's ultimately good for all. So
Right.
hopefully,
And I mean, even though like there's public transport, like every other method, it seems like even though, I mean, albeit some of the public buses and things aren't necessarily safe feeling, but at least there's a place to, park the chair and latch down with some restraints of some type and go. So I mean, I just don't see what the holdup is, but obviously money and time and all those things play into it. But yeah. How about going into kind of mental health from that side, and then just in general too, just having MD, having the stigma and ableism that goes with it. Like, are there go-tos that you both have with that? Do you have things you do together maybe to obviously you can share experiences and things too, but like what's that like for both of you?
yeah, I think our community is a big thing too, and I know me and Avery definitely lean on each other to vent because like we get it, like we understand each other in a way that no one else really can. So all the societal things and all the outside things, we can really just support each other through that. And I know for me personally, just like unwind and let it all go. Definitely music is my therapy. So just getting lost in a song or an album and or a concert, just like getting out and screaming the words to songs and being around people that are, into the same thing. Like that for me is my therapy, what keeps me sane and definitely helps me through it all. So that's what does it for me.
Yeah, music is a good one. I dig
Yeah,
into that a
great
lot for
outlet.
sure. Yeah, yeah. How about you, Avery?
Um, yeah, I think music is a huge platform for me, a huge outlet that really helps me escape and like Kelly said, just keeps me sane. In a way, it like kind of feels like you're talking to someone where it is kind of like a one-sided conversation. Um, but like one that you're kind of able to like pick and choose in a way. Um, but that's a huge thing for me. I mean, I'm a huge Broadway fan living in
Mhm,
New York, and so even just that in and of itself is a huge way to escape for me.
mhm,
Um, I think my support system is a huge part. I have a lot of family, friends, mentors, who really keep me sane and are just pe incredible people that, you know, donate their time to me
mhm.
in a way, just their generosity and their love, really. And that has always kept me going and they keep me going and, um, put up with my insanity. And because I also have such a huge drive, I love being busy. I can't stop. I love being busy. I love working. I always need to be doing something. Um, and so they're just, I'm so incredibly grateful for them. And yeah, I think like when you dive into mental health, especially living with a disability, there's always feeling like you're a burden. I feel like
Mhm.
that's something that's talked about a lot, maybe not enough, but I feel like I've especially had to kind of learn how to admit it, admit it to myself that I often feel like a burden to my caregivers or whoever, even like if I'm going out with friends and family and just we can't do something because I can't participate in it, maybe somewhere is inaccessible, then I can't go, which means that of course everyone else doesn't want to go since I
Yeah,
can't go. And it's just that feeling that you kind of have to toy with and figure out how to navigate yourself, and how to really grow from it as well. Um, I think also knowing that like me having this huge support system helps me and my advocacy grow because then them hearing all that I do and like being right beside me, doing this crazy
mhm,
thing called life, um, helps, kind of pass the message along in a way. And so everyone that kind of gets to know me now looks at places differently. If there's a ramp
mhm.
or if there's an elevator, or if the elevator's not working and there's caution tape, going across it, like
Yeah.
they just have such a different outlook on this world now just
Mhm.
from knowing me. Um, and so that's also something that I like to think about a lot.
Do you think
Um,
that would maybe lead to other people not having the burden, like the more awareness and the more kind of understanding society has, like that has to branch out from your family and friends as as they adapt to it, it seems like it would help to kind of remove that a little
for
bit of that
sure.
stigma. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Kelly and I are such huge proponents of, awareness building and all the different ways you can do that, whether it be via social media or,
Yeah.
the legislative work that her and I do. Just you can really do it in whatever capacity that works for you and that you're most comfortable with. And um, it could be something as small or something as big. And you might be advocating and you don't even realize it.
Right. Just
Um,
living your life kind of.
right. And something that um the that like we often talk about a lot is is just the power of the lived experience, and how much of an impact it holds. And so Kelly and I are just so grateful to have these opportunities to really spread our mission, our message as affected individuals, um, kind of explore what does disability inclusion mean and disability inclusion done right and what does that mean. um, just really keeping the dialogue going to bring light to our experiences and even just really reaching and networking and building our community as well and just really we hope to encourage others that disability absolutely does not limit anything. I mean, unfortunately, there, due to accessibility and
Yeah.
issues in a way, there are limitations that are set upon us that are unfortunately out of our control, besides the advocacy work that we do. But you ultimately define how your disability limits you. And so we just kind of use those outlets and those opportunities to really not shy away from our mental health, but um, it's like another form of therapy for us. So
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely understand that for sure. And it does take a level of self acceptance and I think self love too, to, to kind of fight against a lot of those things too. Yeah, I'm actually curious your thoughts, either or both of you on like disability. It's such a diverse, like wide spectrum umbrella of so many different things. Like, what are your thoughts on like inclusion just within the disability community? Like, do you think that there's major gaps there, and what do you think maybe we could do to help fix that issue?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of just like stigmas on what disabled means in general, like kind of like the example Avery gave earlier about people not speaking directly to us,
Yeah.
or speaking for us. And I think honestly, a lot of that stems from implementing a better education around disability at a younger age so
Mhm.
that they're exposed to that, and also including people with disabilities more in activities as well. So it's something that's seen and it's normalized. I just think that we're so excluded from so many things, unfortunately, a lot of it due to physical limitations.
Yeah.
But I think bringing us to the table, bring us to like conversations and just having more education surrounding it at a younger age. Because I did feel separate, like in my school, I was singled out and different all those things, and looking back on it now, I was like, wow, that honestly probably was not right, and
Yeah.
nobody said anything, and nobody advocated for me, and I hope that unfortunately, I won't bring politics into this, but
Yeah, true.
hopefully we get back to a place where there's more education surrounding disability so that we can learn better the different types of disability and what that means, and
Yeah.
not just generalize as, oh, wheelchair, that means paralyzed. Oh, this, and it's just,
Yeah.
there are so many different types of, like you said, disability. And I think all of it should be embraced and all of it should be normalized and educated upon. And I really think, like, I hope that there's more children's books with people, and
That's
maybe
a
it
good
starts
point.
there with disabilities, like starting younger to know that people like us are existing out there already. And, this is how you approach them in public. And just little things
Yeah.
like that shouldn't have to be taught if, I don't want to blame parents, but it's a societal issue too. But yeah, I think if a lot of those things were put in place, we would be at a better point to be part of community, be active parts of the community that aren't separate. Like we
Yeah.
are the community as a whole. We're
Like
not
that's showing the
just
diversity
disabled.
from the start.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Like we are a part. We're not separate,
Yeah.
or we're part of it. So that's
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, I totally agree. That makes so much sense, that we could almost just live by example. And then, as more and more different diverse disabilities or, what people with those are allowed to or are brought to the table to be involved in those discussions and changing the way people look at it, and less of a burden, less of, something to be divided over, I think is big. So I definitely agree with that. As far as Cure CMD, like what are the efforts like? How did you both kind of get involved with them, and what are the efforts for, bringing awareness, or what's the main mission of Cure CMD?
yeah, so Cure CMD's mission is to advance research toward treatments for the congenital muscular dystrophy, as there isn't a cure or treatment or anything out there. And then also kind of where Kelly and I come in is empower the lives of those living with CMD through the engagement and support of our community. Um, and so we are lucky enough to have a large clinical community, all around the world, but especially at the National Institutes of Health. Um, and so they're really leading the way in terms of research. Something that CureCMD actively does is host a congenital muscle disease international registry that we encourage a lot of our community members to register with so that we have access to the data to ensure that research. And, once we get them treatments, um, which we're hopeful will come soon, um, that those meet the needs of our community, and so that the clinicians have access to those resources and to that data in terms of what the needs of our community are. We
Mhm.
encourage and give space for our community members to talk with the clinicians and researchers so that they both get that opportunity to meet with one another, um, and so that for especially for the clinicians, they have the opportunity to meet the people they're working for in a way as they're building these treatments. And, we're sure it's, 95% sure that it will most likely be gene therapy that is the best, which I know SMA and Duchenne have had success from. And, Duchenne and SMA have really led the way in terms of neuromuscular treatments, especially relating to muscular dystrophy. And so, we always say that although we're a little bit more behind with than them, since we are more ultra rare, one win in one community is a win for all. And so we're really looking forward to really learning from them and seeing how that can kind of come into play when continuing, the research in CMD. And then Kelly and I host a lot of our outreach and engagement and community initiatives and programming. We host and founded a Cure CMD webinar series. And we are able to kind of bring our unique angle living with the same CMD subtype to our webinars, but also leave space for adapting to other people's perspectives in the community. And we really just highlight topics that are often ignored or overlooked in a way, but are at the forefront of the minds of those living with CMD and really all neuromuscular diseases or all, I mean, I feel like physical disabilities too. It can really relate and apply to a lot of our community. And so we host that. We help plan the SciFam conference. We have Facebook support groups that are pretty active just because most people have Facebook, and it's just a very easy and seamless way to pop in a quick question. And we're grateful to have a lot of users and community members who are more than willing to immediately jump in and share their experiences and such. That's a huge thing. Just connecting community members, traveling along a similar journeys to share experiences, connect with peers, all around the world, and really giving them the platform and the space. We host happy hours as well, and so people can connect virtually, but also events in person and stuff. And so, yeah, that's that's a little bit more about Cure CFD in a nutshell.
Yeah.
But it's
I love
truly
the
been an
diversity of
honor.
things that you both, brought to it. I think it's cool to have, a combination of virtual and in-person things. And then it's not, just on the research or treatment side. It's obviously like the social components too that are,
Right.
I think, really important to what we need to is just as just humans in general, having kind of that
Yeah.
that network and connection. So for people that are interested in getting involved and learning more, is Facebook kind of where you point them to go to get involved with Cure CMD, or is there other avenues where they can find out more?
Yeah, so you can go to our website, curecmd.org. There's a lot of info on there, whether it be about CureCMD or we direct a lot of people to our care guidelines as well that are a little outdated that we're actively working to update. But that's really the place that we direct a lot of our community members to, especially the newly diagnosed people, so that they can become their own expert in CMD. Since CMD is ultra rare, there's such a lack of clinicians who treat CMD and are very well versed in the condition. And so we really direct clinicians and even, affected individuals and their families to these care guidelines. So those are on the website as well. The Cure CMD YouTube channel is also where you can find a lot of the webinars since we record them, so that people can refer back to that info. Or especially since we are a global community, we can't accommodate all time zones, of course. And so
True.
we have those on there. And yeah, Cure CMD is on really all social media platforms. That's also another thing that Kelly and I run. So Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, X,
Yeah.
TikTok, all the things.
Blue sky maybe in the future. I feel like it's multiplying.
Right. Yeah. I can't
Yeah.
keep up for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. That's good to hear. I'll definitely, include all that information too in the episode posts. And I'm sure there's going to be more people interested in, finding out what all there is to offer, especially as they get earlier diagnoses too. So that's great to learn about, what you all are doing on that for sure. Kelly, is there anything you wanted to add on that or?
No, I think she had it all.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Very, very detailed and thorough. I like that. Yeah, so I kind of I think we could probably brainstorm and bounce ideas and thoughts back and forth. But kind of the last thing I was curious about is something that each of you have, like what's the next big thing you're excited about, or not even big thing, but just like the next thing you're looking forward to or planning or getting ready to go do.
Oh, that's a thinker. No, like just in general or work related or
pretty much just something you're looking forward to, like coming up in the next, week or month or.
Okay. I would say I'm super excited for summer. Summer is like my season. So
Yeah,
after this brutal winter that we had, I am
getting
ready
some
for
sun,
my bones to warm up, my body to feel better. I'm
thaw out
excited.
just a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all hot for sure. So excited for summer, and I always love and you mentioned that before foodies, so like there's a lot of like summer food truck things.
Mm,
So like I'm excited to get some summer food and yeah, just all the summer things. That's
yeah. I like the summer side of things and all the grilled food and all those things
the
for
longer
sure.
days, the sunshine. Yeah, it just everything is better in the summer. So I'm a summer girl.
Yeah, yep. I relate. How about you, Avery?
I'm also a summer girl, so very
Not my
excited
answer,
about that.
no.
So,
Your answer.
very excited about that. Very excited to get to the beach and the pool and stuff. Um, I'm very excited about our SciPam conference in August. I'm excited to see everyone again and continue to build those relationships and connections and stuff. And connect in person. So that's really
Yeah,
exciting. Just excited to like continue our advocacy work and driving our mission and passion forward and our message and really exploring what disability inclusion done right means and um, breaking out of the predefined box that society puts the disability community in and hoping that people will meet us outside of that box. And just keeping the dialogue going and navigating a world that was clearly not built for us and just really ensuring that the disability community has a seat at the table at all times. So I'm really looking forward to what the future holds for us in the future and yeah, this was so great and really loved this conversation. So thank you for having us, Ty.
absolutely. Same here. It was really good to connect. And I know I'll be following along, seeing what all you're up to going forward. Maybe we can chat again or do something collaborative in person at some point. But we'll
Yeah,
see.
we'd love that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
part
see
two,
down the
part
road.
two to
Yeah,
come.
sounds good.
To be
Yeah, well,
continued.
yeah. Well, I sure appreciated both of you for joining, and looking forward to sharing the conversation and seeing.